Episode 50.
All right.
All right, and action.
Welcome to episode 50 of the Inside Real Estate Podcast. Today, we have Amanda Bradford. Amanda, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much. I'm excited.
Awesome. All right, so for people who don't know you, I'm sure a few people have seen you around social medias. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Amanda Bradford. I'm born and raised in Delaware, licensed in Delaware, Maryland, and PA. Been an agent. This is headed into my 6th year now. Married, love life, love theater, and a big lover of Netflix right now.
Oh, yeah? What are you watching?
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things? My dad is into it. I'm afraid to get started because once I start something, I have to binge it till it's over.
You do, and the
Yep.
season finale comes out tomorrow, and I can't wait.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check it out at some point. All right, so why real estate?
Honestly, it was kind of by accident. I got my license during COVID. I was furloughed from my job. I've been doing sales since I was 14, but mainly in the food industry. So I got furloughed from my job, and my dad, who's a landlord, who's an investor, always said, you should get into real estate. I think you'd be fabulous at it. Figured after having the supplemental income from the government for a few months and not really knowing my path, I thought I'd take the jump, go into real estate and see what it was like. It's nothing like I expected. You know, everyone thinks it's going to be HGTV, you know, opening doors. And so I was pleasantly surprised that it was a lot more, you know, paperwork, selling myself, people interaction, which is something that I've always loved to do. So once I got into it and found that I was good at it, I figured, why not keep going?
Okay. You said you love paperwork?
I do, actually.
That's weird.
I know. It's the routine and I think the structure of it.
Okay.
It's all the same. So it's
Okay.
easy.
Yeah, I always, as I said, when I used to have my license, I liked the contract. That was my favorite part about it. The other stuff, I'm like, get it out of here. Okay, so you got licensed about 6 years ago now, and when you got started, how did you do it? Like, how did you say, like, okay, like, did you have right off the bat, did you have the mindset that, you know, I'm running a business, or did you have to grow into that?
Definitely had to grow into it. I bounced around a few different brokerages before I felt like I found my groove of things. So when I first got started, I was with Remax and Hockessin. I was basically working as their secretary, helping their older agents with social media, technology, because I was there when nobody else was during COVID. And I kind of just learned from them how to run my business, but everybody's first advice is, referrals. Just use your referrals, which is so hard to tell a brand new agent who was 24 at the time. No one my age was ready to buy a home. So I figured the only way for me to get myself out there was to do what I already do best, which is performing. So that's kind of where social media came into play. And then from there, I really had to reprogram my brain to think of this as an actual job and this is my business, and to know that everything I'm investing into it, you know, has to have some sort of return. So it took a few years to get to that point, though.
Okay. So once you kind of were able to kind of get yourself in that mindset, take us through like the first, like if you had to start again and kind of like tell yourself how to go about it, like what are the steps to getting going?
Definitely, I would keep doing social media. That would have been the first step I would have done. Making videos and just getting myself out there, because it allowed for people to trust me a little bit more. Word of mouth is huge, but word of mouth today is really social media. So once people were seeing that I was actively working, or they thought that I was working, it gave them more trust and me a little bit more credibility with wanting to move forward with somebody. And then from there, I think joining a team, I wish I had done that faster. I did join a team pretty quickly. It was probably 6-7 months into me having my license, but those first 6 months, I was probably crying every week, thinking I had imposter syndrome, had no advice, no guidance. So if I had that right team from the beginning, I felt like that would have kind of set up the foundation a little bit better. And then once I did that, you know, it was so much easier to grow and to learn so much better.
Okay. So jumping into a team, good piece of advice. What do you think the team gave you that you couldn't have done on your own? Or done quicker on your own?
I think it was the level of confidence. And like I said, the imposter syndrome when you're brand new and you have no deal. So you're going into a listing appointment and saying, I've done all this business and you've done nothing was really hard. But to have a company or a team backing me to say, well, I don't have the experience, but here's my team leader who has so much and he's going to be here with me and walk you through everything really helped. And they also had a different way of thinking. The first team that I was with, they were very big about social media, about wanting to use yourself as your brand, build your brand. And I felt like that helps so much with this business. A lot of realtors, I don't think of themselves as a brand or that they should be marketing themselves. They just want to market the house.
Right.
But really, at the end of the day, they're choosing you because they know they can trust you. So they really honed in on that.
Awesome. So with social media, right? So I'm a new agent or an agent that doesn't have the amount of business that I would like to have. How should you approach what you're creating content-wise to get started?
I think local content is really the easiest way to get started. If you're somebody who already lives in an area and you're from this area, why not showcase the reasons why you love that place, whether that's local coffee shops or new events that are happening, or just showcasing the people in the community, I think is really easy to get started and it's fun. And also just education. I think for me, the videos that did really well were, and actually helped me learn this business, was teaching people about different aspects of the business, whether that was vocabulary or just the process of buying and selling. Really helps you kind of internalize the information, but also helps other people because, everything can be Googled, but at the end of the day, to hear it from somebody is a little bit different.
Okay. Now, with the local stuff, what would you say to somebody who's like, every agent's doing that, I don't want to do that?
I have heard that from people, which is so crazy that is the mindset of somebody. Because if you think about all of the artists or anybody in this world who said so many people are doing this, why should I do that? It would probably have stopped so many geniuses in their tracks. So for anybody who's thinking that, you can do it differently. And I've seen so many people do it differently because at the end of the day, my personality is different than yours versus different from somebody else's. So how you video something, how you talk about something, or the things you love and want to showcase are going to be different from me or somebody else anyway. And I think bringing your own spin to it, bringing your own authentic self to it will allow people to kind of relate to you a little bit more than they might to somebody else.
Okay. Give me an example of like how you would go about like let's say it's hokassing.
Okay.
For example, how would you think about it? Like, hey, I want to do something local here. How would you approach it?
For something local in like Hockessin, it's a small area. I mean, showcasing, I'm a big foodie, so restaurants are an easy one for me. You go out to dinner, you take videos, you showcase the best things on that meal. We're such habitual people as human beings. And so even like you said earlier, there's so much good food in Delaware, but a lot of people don't know about it if they're stuck to one area. So for me, easy, Hockessin would be a great place to showcase their food, the community, and also the homes. I love to drive through a back road and see gorgeous homes that I just never knew existed. So that would probably be something I would want to showcase, as well as the different like local services that are there too. There's a lot of mom, pop shop type businesses that just don't get the outreach that they should because they don't know how to. And I think kind of giving back to the community that way is also really nice, while also showcasing an awesome part of the community.
How much of a production does one of those videos need to be?
Not anything at all. Like, have an iPhone, you don't need a gimbal. You're literally just going around and like panning. Pick up a product, show it off, put your phone in front of a water bottle, take a video of you eating. It does seem awkward and it seems very inauthentic in the moment, but when it actually all comes together, it's what people love to watch. I watch those videos all day, every day.
Do you get pushback from business owners with this?
It depends on how you're doing it. I think when it comes to like me walking into a place, no. Like if I'm walking into a shop, like one of my favorite stores, Designer Consigner, I've been going there for years. I told her I was doing a video of the day in the life and she was like, great. And she wanted to be in it. She waved. But if it's a new shop or someone who doesn't know you, I prefer to go the route of ask forgiveness than permission with a lot of this stuff. And definitely when it comes to restaurants, everyone's doing it. Why wouldn't a business want free advertising?
Yeah. So, side note, in Hockessin, there's this hole-in-the-wall Mexican spot down there.
Mexican table?
Is it like kind of, you wouldn't really
I know
notice
what you're
it?
talking
It's like
about.
in this little cut.
It's
off
next to Rita's, and there's
so.
a laundromat that's right in front of it.
And they have like a little window you can just go up to.
Best tacos and quesadillas.
I know.
Yep.
And I don't know how, yeah.
They have a mariachi band too. If you sit in the restaurant, they'll have a mariachi band running around. It's so much fun.
They're so good. Okay. So what, you've gotten, the content outside of the properties, right? But okay, when it comes to marketing a property and you're, thinking of the social media aspect of it, I think, or at least from my perspective, because we work with agents on property marketing, I feel like so many of them get a listing and all they're thinking about is how quick can I sell it to get the paycheck? But I feel like they're missing out on the opportunity to leverage that listing for their business. Talk about how you would leverage like the timeline of like, okay, I signed a listing contract. What are you doing with that listing to not only service your client well, but also to help grow your business?
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely agree with you. I think a lot of people think of it as just getting the paycheck and getting it closed really quickly. So when you first get a listing, there's the pre-marketing aspect of it. I have over 150 agents at our brokerage. So before I even have the listing signed, I'm trying to showcase those agents, hey, I'm going to a listing appointment. Who has a client that might, match this criteria of this home? So then that way, when I walk into the listing appointment, I might already have 2 or 3 buyers who might be interested. Wow. And then when I'm there, trying to show them the marketing aspect, postcards are great, flyers are great, the listing video is awesome, social media. But really, I also just like to showcase to them that today, not just social media, but online presence is so big. People do all their shopping online, whether it's Zillow. Like I'm not one of those people that is against the third-party websites. Take advantage of them, use them. The more eyes I can get on the property, the better. But to do that, it really does take getting that first impression and making a good one. So the marketing is a huge aspect of that. So whether that's the photos, the staging, sometimes it doesn't even have to be fully staged. I've had a stager come in. I had one guy in Westchester. He was a bachelor. He's the sweetest man, but his aesthetic was just not for everybody. We took his furniture. We just added some pillows, some decor. It completely changed it. The house was sold in like less than 24 hours. So making sure that they understand that everything that we're doing is going to benefit them. And then once you have the listing, when it's on the market, we do a lot of outreach, whether it's cold calling to the neighborhood, door knocking, open houses, and then that listing video, like you said, honestly, I never do a listing video to get the house sold. I know it's not going to get the house sold. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose is, 1, to get more eyes on it, but 2, it really is for my own branding of it, which is why a lot of my listing videos are very different. They're not just a typical walkthrough of a home, because I want it to go viral. I want people to see it, and I want it to be different and more eye-catching than just the typical everyday house that you kind of see online. Okay. Will we get a buyer from that? Probably not. But at least I can say to a seller, hey, you have over 10,000 people looking at your home today. And that's just on Instagram, Facebook, not including all of the other third-party sites that are seeing it. So it kind of helps them know that work is actually being done, and I'm not just listing it on the MLS and hoping for that paycheck.
Yeah, for sure. Are you in all of your listing videos, and is that important or not?
Yes, I think so. There's different capacities that I'm in it. Sometimes I like there to be more storytelling, and so I'm in it a little bit more, and there's a little bit more acting involved. But other times it's just me kind of walking in the front frame and then the very ending, just doing a call to action. So it depends on what I want to showcase for the home, because not every home is as beautiful as the next, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't still be showcased. And I think there's ways to highlight the benefits of each of those homes, even if it doesn't look like a beautiful California $1 million home. It could be a $350,000 Newark home, and it still look just as beautiful. So I think personally, me showing up in my videos is very important to my brand, just because that's what people expect from me. But I think if an agent is camera shy, you can still make great listing videos and not be in it. You just need to make sure that they're unique and not the typical walkthrough that you see.
Yeah. How much are you involved in, I guess, the creative process of those videos? Or are you just hiring the videographer and here I am at like day of the shoot?
No, very, very involved.
Okay.
I like to copy and paste. I tell people to do that all the time. There are thousands of agents out there who are making amazing listing videos in states like Arizona, California, Florida. If I take their video and try to replicate it here, their audience, the same audience will not see it. And so I kind of try to do that. And so with my videographer, I send him some ideas of what I'd like to do. We tweak it a bit so that it's not completely, word for word the same video.
Yeah.
Change the script, obviously, to be relevant to the house and that criteria. And then making sure that, like, me and him will sit down and kind of block out different shots that we definitely want. But a lot of it, when it comes to the shots, is really him. It's me just kind of trying to explain my vision of how I'd like it to be. And, with new AI technology, different things that we can add or transitions. But it's definitely collaborative.
Okay.
Yeah.
For you, for one of those shoots, how is like shoot day? Is that process like client get out, leave us, with the house and we're going to spend a few hours here or, or is it quick?
No, I wish it was quick. It's because our ideas change as we're there at the house, or sometimes we have to deal with weather and different unrelatable or unreliable factors. So I would say usually I prefer them to leave. I don't like being watched by my clients because I mess up. And when I mess up, I tend to shout profanities. But so they leave, and then we're usually there for like 2 hours.
Okay.
It's not an all-day thing, especially if we have it planned ahead of time. But if we don't, then it can take a little bit longer.
Okay. Now, and then once video's shot, you're ready to start distributing it. Are you just relying on your organic audience and the algorithm, or are you running ads too?
Nope, no ads, just totally organic.
Okay.
Yep. The only time I'm ever running the ads additionally is if, and it depends on the house. Like I do find that right now, a lot of homes, if priced correctly, are in great condition. They're selling quickly. So I usually don't start ads until we get to maybe day 7, 8 of being on the market. But by that point, we could already be under contract.
So it's more of a boost if necessary?
Yep.
And then what about if it's like a banger house? Will you run ads just for your own benefit to get your face out there more?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, cool. Talk about your business from who you deal with a little bit. Buyers, sellers, combo of the two?
A little bit of both. This year, my plan was to focus a little bit more on sellers, but naturally I had 50-50 buyers and sellers this year, which I was happy with because in previous years I've probably been 75% buyers and 25 sellers. So with most of my buyers, they tend to be first-time home buyers, but also second-time buyers that have purchased with me back when I first got my license, who are now selling and upgrading to something else. I have a lot of relocators too, people coming from Florida, California, New York, a lot of people from New York.
How are they finding you?
Referrals and social media. I get a lot of agent referrals from social media.
Are you actively networking with people in other places through social media to kind of get those connections?
Not at all. I used to be a part of the Tom Ferry group, and I did that for about 3 years. So I was going to those summits every year, and I was introducing myself to agents all across the country. So I think that's how it kind of started. I created a good base just from those connections. But otherwise, as long as your SEO shows, I'm a Delaware agent, you can just kind of search that on Instagram. And I find that I do the same thing when looking for agents in other cities. And if they have an aesthetic or if they have a vibe that I feel like matches what I would like my clients to receive, then I reach out to them and then have that interview. So a lot of it is just people looking me up that way.
Okay. Talk about so you were talking about SEO, referring to your website, I'm sure. How important is it to not have that cookie cutter brokerage website and to have like all of your pieces kind of cohesive?
I think it's extremely important, although I am not somebody who probably follows that advice myself because I have a cookie cutter brokerage website. I guess when I mean more SEO is also the searchability of your profile too. I think websites are incredibly important, but there's so much that goes into it. Like if I remember from my previous team, the amount of blog posting that they were doing, making sure all of the accounts were connected to get a higher SEO kind of blew my mind.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So I stopped doing that and I focused a little bit more on just with all of my accounts, them to be so easily searchable. Somebody could go to my profile and know what states am I working in, what type of person am I, and so then that way, if somebody's searching on Facebook or Instagram and they just look up Delaware Realtor, because of hashtags, because of the type of post, I would pop up in that search naturally.
With the buyers and sellers you work with, what was your first deal, buyer or seller?
It was a buyer.
Yeah.
Yep. Her name was Kia. I love her. We're still very good friends today. She actually was thinking about getting a real estate license, and we've been in talks about that.
Nice.
But yeah, she was my very first, and she was actually a referral from the agents that I was working with in the RE/MAX office. They had kind of said, hey, we have a client for you. And we kind of, did that weird split, even though I wasn't on a team, just to get me started. And it was terrifying. Oh my gosh. I remember she didn't want to sign anything. I brought all the documents at the very first showing ready for her to sign. And she was like, no, I will not sign anything with you yet. I got to get to know you first. But even from there, that connection and that relationship building from 6 years ago to now, that's kind of been the continuation of my business. Is I just got an email yesterday from somebody who knows 2 of my clients who have worked with me. So referrals have definitely taken off, which is why I get it when they used to tell me, hey, rely on referrals as a new agent. But it took 5 years to get to that point. So
yeah, but we're the same way. I think there's a good chunk of our business that is organic at this point from referrals and things like that. But if we relied just on that, we'd be screwed. Mm-hmm. So it's like kind of, between social media, networking, all those things, I think everything kind of has to work.
It does,
together.
all together, for sure. If I stop social media, I have no other form of prospecting besides I have like a cold calling company that I pay and they reach out to sellers, but that's not me actively doing it all the time. And otherwise, even the cold calling I'm doing for my listings, it's a ringless voicemail and a text message. So even still, it's not taking up as much time as normal cold calling would. So the different prospecting things that I'm doing aren't as consistent as social media always has been for me.
Right. And like you said, I mean, referrals, which, one thing and another is basically word of mouth, right?
Yep.
And I always tell people social media is like word of mouth on steroids.
Yes.
Okay, so with buyers, like what are they dealing with right now from your perspective? And then how are you as a kick-ass agent guiding them through that?
I think that inaccurate expectations is something that a lot of buyers are dealing with, whether that's hearing advice and guidance from family and friends who have previously bought, whether that was 5-10 years ago or longer, but also the unpredictability of this market. And in a lot of areas, it's not even just statewide, it's citywide or neighborhood-wide. So I think there's a lot of frustration with buyers right now because affordability is super low. There's low inventory during certain times of the year. Like right now, there's just nothing out there. And yet right now is such a good time to buy if you can find something that you love. And then the times when there would be higher inventory, people are coming in expecting to waive inspections, sell their second child, basically, go way over asking in order to get a home under contract and then still getting offers rejected. So I think disappointment has become more of the norm for a lot of buyers, which sucks because I don't think that should be the experience. And then not to mention having so many people talk in their ear telling them not to do the things that I'm recommending that they do in order to get their offer accepted makes them even more frustrated. And where I could get the process done quicker for them if they listened, they kind of have to go through a few rejections before they finally realize, okay, this is how it's going to be, or I just don't buy a house.
Right. So how are you? I'm a buyer. Mm-hmm. Hey, Amanda, I want to buy a house, right? And we start the process. Maybe you recommend me to a lender, whatever it would be. We're kind of getting geared up to go start house hunting. Mm-hmm. What does it look like for me as a buyer that's reached out to you in the beginning, process-wise, and setting expectations, getting me like kind of ready for what I'm going to be getting into?
Definitely. A very in-depth buyer consultation is always needed. I never want to just meet a client at a showing for the very first time. I want to learn as much as I can about you, what your understanding of the process looks like, what your experience level is, what have you heard, what do you feel, what are your fears, concerns, so that I can kind of just go through all of that from the very, very beginning. And I'm very honest, especially in that first buyer consultation, I'll give examples of what I'm seeing in the current market and what to expect and things to think about, so that when we get to that point, they've already had those conversations with each other, whether that's, what are you willing to sacrifice on? What are you not willing to sacrifice on? What's your timeline look like? And I think understanding people's underlying motivation helps me gauge them a little bit better as to how aggressive or non-aggressive we need to be with things, and how blunt I have to be with the state of their situation. If they're looking for something, it's December, they want to buy a home by February, it's go time. We have to make sure that we're really putting our best foot forward. But if you're someone who's just starting the process and you want to buy a house sometime in 2026, you have a little bit more wiggle room. So I think motivation is great for me to understand, and just communication. I think for a lot of first-time home buyers, everything is so new. There's so many questions that they have, and I would rather answer all of those just from the get-go. And then that way, as we're going through things, they will probably forget, but at least they've had that conversation ahead of time so that it's not completely new.
Okay. There's tons of information out there. And they may think they're educated, maybe they are, but maybe a little off base. When buyers are coming to you, do you find that most of them are like where you and they need to be to make what they want happen? Are they coming to you in a position where they're like close and you need to just kind of bring them to the center, or are they coming like in left field and they're like what they're thinking they're walking into is completely not how it is?
I think a majority of them are close. I think they've thought about things enough. They have a good baseline understanding, especially if they've been following me. They've seen my videos. They understand things a little bit to a greater aspect than somebody who's coming in brand new. And so it's really just honing in on their understanding of the process and what those boundary lines are. The people that are coming in completely out of left field, unfortunately, tend to be the people that end up not buying with me in the beginning, because I don't ever want to force or push somebody to do something that doesn't make sense. So after having those blunt conversations, sometimes they realize, okay, maybe I do need to take a step back and save more money, or have a better income, or, really figure out what it is that I want and if this makes sense for me. And then it doesn't mean they don't come back to me later. It's just not one of those people that majority kind of have an idea of what they want to do, and they just needed me to kind of just put the cherry on top to make sure that they were all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not all agents are the same, but like with you, if they were where you mentioned like, hey, maybe they don't listen to me and it makes it harder, even though they may still have to go through, losing a couple of deals, whatever it is, how easy or smooth can it be if they listen to you or a good realtor?
Pretty smooth, I think. It all depends on the house, and I can never say that it's, the realtor's full fault if they're still not able to get offers accepted. Because at the end of the day, what a lot of people forget is we have no idea what the other offers are on the table. So we're just simply putting our best forward, hoping that somebody else isn't coming in as aggressive as we are. But you really don't know at the end of the day.
But even navigating, like, there's always going to be crap that pops up.
Yes.
I always tell people, like, you could have on paper 2 identical houses and everything, but there's so many variables. How the house was maintained, the sellers themselves, the other agent, there's all these different factors. But if they're listening to you and you are a good, experienced agent, even when the bumps pop up, are you still able to help somebody get through that smoothly if they trust the process?
If they trust it, yes. I find that a lot of egos sometimes get into the way, pride, stubbornness. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of buyers who have lost out on really great situations because they just feel like they're being taken advantage of when they're not. And so sometimes it comes down to trusting your agent, but understanding that, yes, this is a super emotional process, but when I'm guiding you during this process, I'm not coming from it as emotion. At the end of the day, I could honestly give two cares at all if I get paid. I really don't. If you decide to walk away and we do this all over again for 5 months, that's fine. I've been working with clients for 3 years before. So the money is not my driver. And I think when I'm trying to give advice, I'm trying to make people understand that, like, I'm not trying to force you to move forward. I'm just trying to give you all of the facts of if you walk away or if you're thinking this isn't the best situation for you, here are all the reasons why it is. Your emotions are just taking over right now. We need to think of it from a logical aspect. And I'm here to be that brain, that logical aspect for you. And if they think of it that way, things can go a lot smoother. But the emotion, of course, in most big purchases like this, tend to kind of override the logic.
Yeah. Especially when your agent likes paperwork.
Yes.
You know you're in good hands. Okay, so you're on the younger end. And the affordability aspect, I think, is hitting a lot of the younger people harder. How bad is it? And are people closer? Some people that, hear stuff in the news and this and that, they're like, oh, you're never going to be able to buy a home. Are a lot of people closer than they think they might be to being able to pull it off?
I think so. I think it's harder for somebody who, unfortunately, is a single individual wanting to purchase a home. I think that's where affordability really hits them hard, because if you have, a significant other, husband, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, having that other person to share the burden of the mortgage and the expenses and the utilities is less daunting. But as a single individual person, it's a lot. And I think a lot of people are struggling with that. But I think it's not even so much the mortgage aspect of it, but it's the closing costs. It's, hey, you have to come to the table with $30,000 to buy your first home, and most people just don't have that. And so I think the understanding too of, like, things are only going to get more expensive, people are coming to terms with. So I think more people are, taking the leap, and they're going for it, even if they're stretching themselves a little bit too thin. But that closing cost aspect and the large chunk of cash they have to come to the table with is, I think, even more daunting than maybe the payments are.
Okay. All right, let's close out stuff on buyers with what's the best piece of advice that you could give to somebody that maybe is looking to buy their first house and is like, holy shit, this is going to be hard.
Yeah. Talking to a lender, I think, like I said, setting your expectations accurately, making sure that this is the right move for you. And unfortunately, financially, that's where it begins. Whether or not you're thinking, oh, I want this house or I want that one, and if it's even available for you, you have to know, can you financially afford it? Does it make sense? And it might not. And I think renting is totally fine. And I push people a lot to renting if it makes sense for them. So talking to a lender, do you have enough cash? Are you making enough money? Do you have the credit? Is there anything that you can do to make sure that moving forward, you're good with this house? And then from there, determining, okay, based on my financial capability, is there a house out there for me that I would want to purchase? Because if you're thinking of a $500,000 house you want to buy and you're only pre-approved for $300,000, that's a huge heartbreaker for somebody who has this dream of owning their first home. So just setting your expectations accurately and making sure that you have all of the pieces in front of you first before trying to put the puzzle together.
I think that's good advice. All right. Briefly on sellers. You're a seller, and you're like, hey, you see all these real estate agents out there, some of them dancing, some of them educating, some of them, not doing much. Some are like, okay, there's a million agents out there. What would you do to go find the right agent for you, or a good agent in general, and how would you go about it?
If I was a seller, I think word of mouth and personal referrals would probably be the first place that I would start, only because I personally am someone who's big on hearing the experiences of others and how that worked. Google reviews are fabulous, but like I mentioned before, social media can be a facade, and so trusting that fully, I don't always. But if I had a close family friend or somebody who said, hey, I used this person, they were phenomenal for X reason, I would interview them. I wouldn't go with them immediately, but I would probably have maybe 3 agents that I would interview between all those different in-person referrals to then decide who makes the most sense for me.
Okay. Off the top of your head, what are some questions and or qualities you'd be looking for in said agent when you're going through the interviewing?
First thing would be experience. I'd want to understand, just because somebody has been in this business for 30 years, that's fabulous. How many homes did you sell last year? If it was 2, that's maybe not as great as it was 15 years ago when you sold, 20, because the markets are totally different from 15 years ago. So I want to make sure I'm working with somebody who understands the market today and has it out as it has been since COVID, because it's totally different. So experience would be a big one. Understanding too, what is their typical line of communication? How often will they communicate with me? What type of communication do they typically get? And also, what is their marketing strategy? Marketing, communication, and experience would be my top 3 questions for any agent. And I don't just want, I'm going to put it here and do this. I want to see numbers. Like, what specifically have you done from your previous listings that have gotten you to this result?
Those are 3 great things, and I think they're high level, probably cover everything. From the experience aspect, you talked about in the beginning that you, without any experience, but like I have this team behind me.
Yes.
So if you were in the market right now and you ran into yourself when you went on your first listing appointment, would you have hired yourself?
Probably not. Not in the beginning. I think I was with Loft, Zach Faust, who, shout out, he's fab. If he were sitting if I met him and me, definitely. He had the charisma, he had the confidence, he had the numbers, he had the experience, and he had the marketing. Whereas if it was sold to me that Zach's kind of handling it, Amanda's learning, sure, I would hire me. But if it was being sold as Amanda's handling everything and Zach's kind of the backseat of things, I might not feel as confident if I didn't have a personal connection with myself.
Okay. What if they have the marketing, they have good communication, and from the experience aspect, what if they're an agent that is, let's say they average 2 to 3 listings a year, but they're one of those agents that isn't like scaling for the moon, but on an individual transaction basis, they're super hands-on and all of that. Is that enough experience to give them a shot?
I think so. I think you can tell when you interview an agent, even if somebody's done, a younger agent who's only done 3 deals compared to maybe a more veteran agent who's done a ton. I want to see a level of determination, that go-getterness, and also the attention to detail, and me and my home not just being another number in their deals for that year. So I think if a newer agent comes in showing that passion, and I actually got a deal this year, a listing, that was because of that. They had said, you showed so much passion to want to sell our house and to showcase it, that even though another agent came in that had more experience than me, they didn't have that same drive. So I think if a newer agent showcases that enthusiasm, that could sometimes trump the years of experience somebody might have.
Okay. In communication, right? So you're dealing with people on a super personal level. Some of them may have only this might be the first time they're selling their house, never done it before, super nervous, yada, 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 whatever it would be. There are agents out there that will answer their phone 24 hours a day. And then there's agents that, my partner and I used to joke that, it's 5:01, good luck getting a hold of an agent.
Yeah.
Should be a reasonable expectation for a seller and or a buyer to expect availability from their agent?
Oh, if you're a full-time agent, I think it should be looked at as, a full-time job. If it's part-time, that's harder to say depending on whatever your current other job is. But I think when it comes to communication, I think there's boundaries that can easily be set that should be met from a personal, and you're good, from a personal aspect. Like I personally don't take phone calls after, 7 o'clock. If you want to reach out to me, texting is fine, emailing is fine. Sometimes I'll be emailing until 11 p.m., but I won't take a phone call after that. And then in regards to how fast you're getting back to somebody, honestly, we're on our phone all the time. So I think if you can't get back to somebody within an hour, 2 hours max, your level of communication is probably not the best, especially because sometimes with this market, things do move fast and you do need to answer somebody pretty quickly. Do I think our job is life or death? No, we're not surgeons. No one's on the table being operated on. So nothing is that serious. However, because our job is so flexible, it baffles me that agents don't get back to you, or even know that you can set an automated text message when somebody calls you to say, hey, I'm in a showing, I'll call you right back. Just something as simple as that. Technology is so available to us to make it seem like, hey, we see it. We see that you communicated with us. We're just unavailable right now. And people still don't do it.
Well, it's also like, can you really expect somebody to believe you didn't see them reaching out to you?
Yeah, maybe email. I get emails lost a little bit, but text and phone calls, not as much.
I also think that what you said was great. Okay, maybe I'm not going to take a phone call, like talking to you after 7, but if we're in the heat of the transaction and there's a lot of moving parts, to answer a text or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's important. So honestly, I think that's honestly a great.
Yeah. And if there's
point.
Obviously, a fire happening, I will call you after 7 o'clock if need be. But attorneys aren't working after 7 o'clock. Your lenders might not even be available after 7 o'clock. So your inspector might not. So all of these other people that might be integral parts to whatever the situation is, if I can't get a hold of them, you talking to me is not going to do anything.
Right. And then quickly on the marketing. So we talked about a whole bunch of that stuff earlier, but you did mention that, even from adding some pillows or whatever can make a huge difference. Talk real briefly about the importance of getting a home ready to hit the market and what you generally do.
Yeah. Getting a home ready is extremely important, not only for the online advertising aspect of it, but also from being in person, because a home could look beautiful, but if it's been sitting on the market, I always ask my buyers, there's something wrong with it potentially when we see it in person, whether that's we're not seeing the dirtiness of it in person from the photos, or a smell from the photos, or the size of it, because photos can totally be fish-eyed sometimes with these lenses that people are using. So I think I personally like to advertise my homes accurately. I don't want to misrepresent them. If there's mold in a home, I'm going to take a picture of the mold and I'm going to show it, because I'd rather people online seeing it and still choosing to see it than not. But in person, making sure that, yes, it's deep cleaned, decluttered, depersonalizing all the Ds that they have there, and then making sure that it doesn't have to be 100% staged. But I think if you put yourselves in the mindset of a buyer and you're walking into your home, what is the first thing that you're going to see or what you're going to notice?
Can be even taking something out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. And some furniture needs to, and some things too. I always go into my listings looking at it from a buyer's agent perspective. Is there water staining? Is there a crack in a rafter? Whatever it is that I immediately notice, somebody else will.
Right. So if you're a seller, you're looking for an agent, start with friends, family, referrals, and then don't hire the first one. Talk to a few of them, and
Interview,
you're going to
research.
You're going to be looking for experience, the marketing plan, and communication.
Definitely.
Cool. I think that's actually awesome advice. Okay, so I wanted to talk about your business and giving off the Disney experience. Talk about that, because I loved that when you were talking about it.
I learned that from another business owner, an inspection company actually, who gave me a book called The Power of Moments. And it talked about how there are different ways and different, like Disney, where they create these moments for people that even if you have the worst experience at Disney World, you still overall think of it as a positive experience because of those special moments. And so that's kind of how I'm trying to run my process with buyers and sellers, is even though it could be super stressful or it could be super daunting, there's special moments within it that when you think of me or you think of your experience with me, it was an overall positive one. So whether that's definitely during the process, like I buy moving boxes for all of my clients when they are moving or selling.
Branded?
No, not branded.
Gotta work on that.
I know they come from Amazon, so they're delivered to someone, which is great, very quickly. But no, not branded yet. So moving boxes they get. The communication, of course, is with every single step. So once their loan commitment, once everything has been scheduled, any appointments, like they shouldn't have questions about anything because I'm guiding them through every single step. And then even after the transaction, I am big on gifts and pop buys. I do a really big closing gift basket that I give to people at closing. Then even after that, every year anniversary, they get a gift. For holidays, they get a gift. For Christmas, they got personalized ornaments saying First Christmas in my new home with their name and address on it. I was like Santa on Christmas Eve this year. I literally drove around to 19 homes and delivered them up until 7 o'clock at night.
Hell yeah.
So the Disney moments are for me making sure that the experience has magic kind of given to it and making sure that, like I said, the stressful, daunting, frustrating process that it can be, there are still moments of light and happiness and making you feel like you're special and that I'm not, just thinking of it like a check. You are someone that I care for.
One of the things that I really liked about you having that approach is, with everything going online, digital, Amazon, everything else, the stores that I can see surviving the long term, the businesses are the ones that like give you an experience.
Oh, yeah.
If it's just a store with shit on a shelf, it's like that's, if they don't change something, eventually those items are just going to be online somewhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I can use an experience of even a coffee shop. Cafe Karma is in Greenville. They have such an experience, and whether it's from the second that you walk in to their branding to they're just so personal. It's not just a coffee shop. And I think that is kind of how I want, like real estate should be. It's not just a transaction. It's not just a deal. These are relationships. These are people that you're helping them buy one of probably the biggest purchase of their life. And I don't want them to forget me at that point. I want to be that person forever with them, to be their friend. And so many of my clients have become such close friends. Like my husband's best friend was one of my clients. And now I swear they're having an affair. They love each other. They talk every single day.
That's a good thing. Okay. And then you talked about making your clients comfortable. And I'm sure it kind of piggybacks off the whole experience part of it. But what do you do, like what does Amanda Bradford do that makes her clients feel comfortable throughout the process?
I think relating to them and coming from a place of empathy is really good because, like I said, they don't always listen to what you have to say or what your guidance is. And so I always try to, it's kind of like a therapy session, honestly, with people sometimes, is just listening. Like, tell me your concerns, tell me your fears. I'm not here to convince you one way or another. I'm just here to present the facts. And coming from a place of, I'm never talking over anybody. I'm giving them their space to speak. I'm giving them their place to feel whatever emotion it is that they want to feel. And there are a lot of emotions during these transactions. So when I'm communicating with all of them and trying to make them feel comfortable, it's relating and making sure that they get like, hey, I've been here with 10 other buyers. Here's what happened. Here's how it played out. And here's what we can do. And you it's your autonomy. It's your choice. Whatever way you go, I'm here to support you with that. I just want you to know, like I said, the facts and what the consequences are of those actions. And just kind of being like, what is it? The Christmas Carol. I'm just like a ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. I'm just here to show you everything. And you kind of make your path from there.
Awesome. All right. So I asked you to potentially have some crazy stories prepared. You mentioned something about a squatter, ghosts, and a client backing out from Christmas lights being too bright. Pick one. Tell us about it.
Okay. I will go with the Christmas lights. And I for context, I've been working with these clients for over 3 years. I love them so much, personally and professionally. And I helped them buy their first home in Delaware. And unfortunately, the neighbor it's a bad situation. They're not happy with their current neighbor because of the fact that he puts on floodlights around his home every single night. So when they look out their window, that's all they see.
Yeah.
It's like Times Square lit up next to them. And this is a place in Delaware where there's land, like they're on 2 acres of land, but they still see their neighbor bright as a bulb. So when we were looking for their next place, that was a huge criteria factor for them. Like so much to the point where we would make sure that they drove by the house at night before we even saw the house to even see, like, how do the neighbors look like, you know, what's going on. And they're so smart for that, I have to say, because so many people buy homes without doing their research ahead of time, and then they find out that the neighbor has a grandchild who runs his four-wheeler for 3 hours every single day up and down the driveway. And you don't know those things unless you drive by or you sit there and you're there at different times of the night and day. So they knew that. They were like, this is what we're going to do. So this house that they went under contract on it was their ideal location, not their ideal house. They kind of conceded on that a little bit. We went back through negotiations. Everything was going smooth until 2 weeks before Christmas, before their closing. And they realized that when driving by the house, the neighbor, not just like Christmas lights, like if you've ever been by a house, like there's a house actually on Silverside Road that people physically park and get out of their car to walk around this house because it's so lit with lights.
Clark Griswold.
Yes, yeah. It is just way too many, not the normal amount of lights, and it was seen from like a mile away. So when they called me and they said, unfortunately, this is the reality of this house, and we just can't do it. And granted, my buyers are, you know, they're older. This is going to be their forever house, the final house. So they were like, we can't make this mistake again. And I get it. But it was, to say it out loud, to say they canceled the deal because of neighbors' Christmas lights does sound absolutely ridiculous. But the context,
makes sense.
It makes sense. And it's super unfortunate, both for the buyers and for the seller, of course. But I got to commend them because so many buyers get buyer's remorse, or they move forward when it's just not right. And I'm glad that they didn't. I think in the long run, they'll be so much happier because of that.
They always tell you to they always were, you know, I was always taught like, hey, the buyer should go like in the off hours and check things out. But so many don't. They
don't. And it's because we're forced to make these quick snap decisions. Hey, you saw a house at 12 o'clock, offer deadline's at 5.
Yeah.
You have no time to really think about it or to see. And then that's when people end up in really not great situations or they don't know. Or people don't judge their neighbors enough, unfortunately. And I hate to say that, like, hey, you should judge your neighbor's yard as to what type of person they are. You can't say that, but you might, because if, you know, they've got trash in their yard or they're not taking care of it or anything that's not appealing to the eye to you could become a potential issue down the line and something that you'll have to deal with. So, that one was a new one for me.
It's very timely this time of year.
Yes. And of course they lost their deposit because there's not a contingency for my neighbor Christmas lights. So that was unfortunate too. So it was unfortunate all around, but it was crazy. I mean, and my buyers were heartbroken. They loved it. They were so excited. And this was just like.
Were you under contract before the lights were up?
Yes. So we never would have known until Christmas.
Wow.
And it was told to us that they do this every year. And we didn't know if it was something that they do for other holidays. And so it was just one of those things like, could my buyers have maybe dealt with it for a month every single year? Sure. But why would you want to if you're already dealing with a neighbor who does that every single night? So I get it.
Totally. Can you tell us a story about any transaction you've had over your career, one that has always, you know, stuck with you or hit you hard emotionally, anything like that?
Emotionally, I got to work with my husband's grandmother for her deal. And it was probably the most work I've ever done and the most critical anybody has ever been of me, ever. She is one of my favorite people on the planet. But I have never been as verbally abused by a client as I was by his grandmother. And so that deal will forever stick with me. I actually painted her entire house.
Wow.
Like myself, I repainted her bathroom because I knew it needed some updating. I went around every single room with a paintbrush and I just painted over some nicks or any marks that I saw. We cleaned, we staged. And I remember she called me one day and she was like, Amanda, what are you even doing? Like, I thought you were a realtor. You're acting like a trash man. And I was, oh my gosh, I cried during this deal. I was so stressed. I was so judgmental of myself. And it was because, too, she's older, but obviously she didn't know the process. Her expectations or of what the process was supposed to look like were so different. She thought that I had my own buyer to bring to this house. And she thought, well, if you're not selling it, something's wrong with you. And I was like, no, you don't understand. And I'll use this group, I'll call them the Road Team. They're a very popular team in Delaware. She's like, well, if I had hired the Road Team, they would have had a buyer already.
Oh, man.
And I was like, Mimi, if the Road Team had a buyer, they would have walked through here. Like, they're not going to not bring their buyer to your house just because I have it listed. That's not how it works. So it was the hardest deal of my career. It was the most stressful, but it was also the most rewarding because obviously I've been married almost 3 years. I've been with my husband for over 6. And so his grandmother I see all the time. And still to this day, she's so proud of the results and she's so happy with where she's at now. But it took a long time to get to that point.
Yeah.
Kind of made me want to not work with family too much anymore. But it stuck with me and it made me push through. I said, if I can get through this, someone who loves me and really cares for me and is so critical of me, I can get through a random person,
Were you married at the time?
We were.
Yeah. Okay. So you got some kudos at the end.
Oh, definitely. We got some kudos for sure, but it will forever stick with me.
Now, after it was over, did you tell her she was a little
she
crazy
knows.
about it?
Absolutely. She fully knows. And we joke about it all the time. And she has a beach house in New Jersey, and she's like, get your Jersey license. I'm like, no, I'm just going to refer it out.
Yeah, that's the only one you don't have.
Yes.
Are there plans to get it in the future?
God, no. Jersey real estate is so different.
Jersey sucks.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm good with my little bubble.
Yep, very good. Okay, so quickly tell everybody how they should find you, follow you. What do you want them to know?
Yeah. Easiest way to find me is on my Instagram, at the Amanda Bradford. Facebook is the same, Amanda Bradford. No website. I have a YouTube that I'm slowly growing, but honestly, all of the content that's on my social media goes to the same social media mediums. And you can definitely find me at Crown Homes Real Estate with any events. I'm at most networking events, and I'm now going to be the RPAC chair for Newcastle County Board of Realtors, so I'll be getting into politics this year. So I'll be at a lot more events, but yeah, social media would love a follow and for people to engage and tell me what they love and what they don't.
Cool. And then last question, we ask every one of the guests this, send us off with a positive message to the world.
Ooh, okay. Well, as we're sitting here recording this, we're about to start the new year in a few days. So my positives message for everyone out there is just to give yourself a blank slate. No matter what happened this year, a few years past, 2026 is right around the corner. Be that new you, start that new passion, travel to where you want to be, and make sure to make time for yourself because time goes by fast, and it's important to prioritize you.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome.